You say Los Angeles, you say period, you say mystery, and every movie lover's head is filled with images from The Big Sleep or Chinatown or Out of the Past or those great, film noirs from the 40s. I love those pictures, but I wanted LA Confidential to be something different. I did not want it to be an homage to a style from the past or neo-noir, if you will. And equally importantly, I wanted it to be perceived as being something different so that I could get the financing for the movie. Because pictures that have tried to capture that world of film noir have tended to not do well at the box office, and consequently nobody's eager to invest in them. So what I did is I put together a little photo presentation using pictures, some of which I'd had for many years, others that I put together just for this purpose, so that when I sat down with Arnon Milchan for the first time, and I did this deliberately before he had read the script, I could show him these images and give him the look and feel of the movie that I hoped to make. And some of the images were from old postcards that I had collected over the years as a lifelong Angelino. This particular one is actually the first shot of the movie. And as this shot is on the screen, you hear Sid Hudgens, aka Danny DeVito, saying,
"Come to Los Angeles."
You then see some images of Los Angeles, the dream. You see the orange groves that stretch as far as the eye can see. You see the beaches are wide and inviting. And then I had these shots of things that were going on in Los Angeles at that time. This is the opening of the Hollywood Freeway. This represents the tract homes in the San Fernando Valley, the fastest growing area in the world, where land was cheap and every working man could have his own house. And in every house, the happy all-American family. And then I have this particularly salacious issue of Confidential magazine representing our Hush Hush magazine. And just like in the main title sequence where Danny's voice changes and says,
"They're selling an image. They're selling it through movies, radio, and television."
Now I'm going to peel back that image and show you the world where our characters live, the world of LA Confidential. It's a world where actors are using drugs. This is the famous shot of Robert Mitchum getting out of jail after his marijuana bust. What I love about this photo is Mitchum looks better here than he looks in his movies. You can imagine that the costume person and makeup and hair are right around that corner, and it gets right to the theme of LA Confidential, the difference between image and reality. And also this shot does double duty because this is very much the feel that I wanted to have for Jack Vincennes, the character that Kevin Spacey plays. And behind the image, there was real-life crime going on. This is the real Johnny Stompanato, dead on the floor of Lana Turner's house. This happened several years after our movie takes place. There really was a Mickey Cohen, a Johnny Stompanato, a Lana Turner. There really was a bloody Christmas incident that took place in Los Angeles on Christmas Eve and led to a grand jury hearing. I was making the point that in our story we have reality mixed with fiction. The architecture of the movie, as represented by the shot of a 50s house, I wanted to be true to the 50s, but selectively true. What I wanted to do was put the accent on those things in the 50s that were modern, that were forward-looking, and that in fact still feel contemporary today. My hope was that the audience watching the movie, in fact, would at a certain point be allowed to forget that they were watching a period movie at all. They would just be focused on the characters and their emotions. I did not want to tell the story of LA Confidential through the lens of nostalgia. This is a publicity shot of an actor named Guy Madison. I used this to illustrate what Ed Exley would look and feel like. And I deliberately picked a couple of actors that most people wouldn't know because my dream was to cast an Ed Exley that the audience wouldn't know, that the audience would not already have an emotional history with, and they wouldn't know what to make of him until they discovered him through the course of the story. This is my stand-in for Bud White. This is an actor named Aldo Ray, publicity shot obviously taken at the beach. I later sent a copy of this photo to Russell Crowe in Australia once we had signed him, and I said, "Bud at the beach." And Russell kept this in his script until we started shooting. This is a photograph by a photographer named William Claxton of a jazz musician named Zoot Sims, who was playing here in Los Angeles. And again, I wanted people to see, as I showed these photos, that the clothes, the hair, and so forth, they look contemporary. Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan were playing in Los Angeles in 1953, and I wanted to feature their music on the soundtrack. In fact, for the party at the Badge of Honor set, I found a couple of musicians who looked a little like Chet Baker and Jerry Mulligan, and we cut and dyed their hair, and we have them pantomiming their music while Jack Vincennes and Sid Hutchins are setting up the young actor with the DA. So, again, the accent was on the things that were modern in the 50s, the forward-looking time of the 50s, the time of the freeways, the time of television, a time when so many things were starting that are still with us today, the birth of tabloid journalism and so forth. The one exception to that is the character of Lynn Bracken, played by Kim Basinger. This, of course, is the real Veronica Lake. This character is selling her resemblance to the glamour of the past to her customers. And Lynn Bracken, of course, is the one character in the movie who knows who she is and what she's doing, where all the other characters are actually struggling with who they are and what they're doing.
You had you cut to look like Veronica Lake.
No. I'm really a brunette, but the rest is me.
So I did this photo presentation to Arnon. At the conclusion of it, he said, "Let's make the movie." I said, "Just like that? You haven't read the script." He said, "I see the movie in your eyes. Let's make it." And over the succeeding months, as my various collaborators came on board, whether it be Dante Spinotti, the cameraman, Janine Opwall, the production designer, the entire art department as we hired them, and each and every one of the lead actors, I would sit with them and go through this same photo presentation so that they would all know the movie that I was hoping to make. And with the actors, more often than not, I met them actually here at the Formosa, so that in the midst of the presentation I could say, and by the way, we're shooting a couple scenes right here in the Formosa. I did that because I wanted them to feel that LA Confidential would appear to be reality-based. My number one directive to each of my collaborators was, let's recreate Los Angeles in the way that we want it to be for LA Confidential. Let's pay great attention to the details. But then when we shoot the movie, let's act as though we don't care about the details. Let's push them to the background so that the characters and their emotions can be in the foreground. I didn't want the movie to be about the cars and about the set dressing. I wanted it to be about the people and their emotions.